Have you ever heard of Dan Bilzerian? If not, then maybe you've heard him called by some of his other nicknames, like perhaps Instagram's King, or maybe even Instagram's Playboy King. Whether you've heard of Bilzerian or not, just know that he probably doesn't care. He's more interested in spending tons and tons of cash. Bilzerian gets a lot of his money through his social media channels, sure, but a lot of his recent income has come from his CBD startup company called Ignite. Ignite was founded by Dan Bilzerian, who has since acted as the company's CEO. Ignite is just like any other CBD-related startup company. They provide several different ways to ingest CBD for its various medical effects. Being based in California, where recreational marijuana use is legal, Ignite also offers many different THC products as well, falling right in line with Dan Bilzerian's party boy lifestyle. As much as we'd like to attribute Dan's newly acquired income to his business acumen, we can't. Bilzerian has essentially used Ignite as a way to use investors' money for his own personal gain. To be fair to Bilzerian, startup companies like Ignite tend to lose money in the early stages of their development, as there is a lot of overhead required to start such a business. Before you can even bring products to store shelves, you need to hire employees, develop packaging and marketing, and of course, actually manufacture what you want to sell. But to be fair to early investors in Ignite, most startups don't lose money in the fashion that Bilzerian's company did. As a publicly traded company, Ignite has a responsibility to its investors to post earning reports. While some companies can continue to grow despite showing a loss on these reports, it's looking more likely that Ignite will come crashing down. Unfortunately for investors of Ignite, the CBD startup venture lost a whopping $50 million in 2019. No company should burn through that much capital in the early stages of their existence, especially with nothing to show for it. Many people have said that they've never seen Ignite products in stores and dispensaries that they frequent, leaving many to wonder if Bilzerian's company has even tried to get the product into store shelves. If Dan Bilzerian is good at anything, it's marketing. He's advertised Ignite so well that investors have continued to throw money at the floundering company despite pitiful sales. When you raise that much money from investors, the idea is that you use that money to continue to grow the company, therefore increasing stock prices and making your shareholders happy. Of course, Bilzerian did the exact opposite and had instead spent most of that investment capital on marketing, which is really just a fancy way of saying, we blew all your money. Unless you consider throwing lavish parties and buying private jets a good marketing strategy. That's right, Dan Bilzerian used the money raised by investors of Ignite to throw parties. Bilzerian loves partying, of course. What else would you expect from the so-called king of Instagram? Ignite even had a launch party to promote the company that cost over $500,000, and there was barely any mention of the product during the party. This should have been the first red flag for investors. Ignite's London launch party was immense, packed with countless models who were paid to be there. These models are actually hired as part of Ignite's modeling branch, because even though Bilzerian is incredibly rich and successful, nobody wants to be around him unless they're paid. Bilzerian and company were eating off of silver plates and cutlery, which certainly cost a pretty penny, and there was a complete bar and a dance floor reminiscent of a nightclub. It wouldn't have been an Instagram influencer type of party if there wasn't a GIF machine there. Yes, a GIF machine, where you could turn yourself into a short animated GIF to send to your friends as bragging rights, as if you'd even want to brag about being at a party that absurd. Bilzerian even had a cow skin throne, which seems right up his alley. And of course, there were gift bags packed with CBD paraphernalia just in case you forgot why you were at this massive party to begin with. That's not the only type of party Bilzerian has thrown with investors' money. There was also an Ignite-sponsored Halloween party packed to the gills with celebrities that were likely paid to be there, like Machine Gun Kelly and Drew Taggart of the Chainsmokers. It wouldn't be a Dan Bilzerian Halloween bonanza without models, of course. There were plenty of models dressed in costumes and other spooky fashion to celebrate the season. Oh yeah, and there were mermaids swimming around in his pool. Another party thrown by Bilzerian with all of Ignite's money was the Ignite Valentine's Day party. featuring the likes of Cardi B and Tyga, who definitely demanded a ton of money to show up. These various parties are all chalked up to marketing and advertising and are written off as legitimate business expenses. But really, it's just another way for Bilzerian to get his partying fix without ever having to foot the bill. Massive parties aren't the only thing that Dan Bilzerian has spent Ignite's cash on. There's a good chance that his home, private jet, and various other personal items that are in his possession were bought using company funds. Of course, these funds are supposed to go to building Ignite's business, but it appears they never made it that far. How do you think Bilzerian's entourage of models gets paid? You guessed it, investment capital. Who benefits from having models draped over their shoulder all the time? Dan Bilzerian, of course. Ignite doesn't really stand to benefit from hiring all these models anyway. If anything, it could hurt the company both financially and with public perception. The use of these scantily clad models isn't very progressive these days and is borderline objectifying to the poor women that are unfortunate enough to be stuck hanging around Bilzerian. Dan Bilzerian loves to populate his Instagram feed with all of his mountains of cash. Chances are that these mountains of cash belong to Ignite, and they probably don't stay unspent. It's likely that Bilzerian's other expensive possessions were purchased using Ignite's cash, including things like his yachts and pontoons, cars, guns, and marijuana, of course. While there isn't a ton of evidence to back that up, we certainly wouldn't put it past Bilzerian to spend money that way. Plus, most of the items mentioned have Ignite's signature goat head logo plastered all over them, so it's probably fair to assume that they were company expenses. Other things paid for with company funds were things like a $40,000 rock climbing wall and a $15,000 ping pong table. We're not even sure how you'd spend that much money on a ping pong table of all things, but Bilzerian found a way to do it regardless. Some of the money raised by Ignite was used to pay salaries at other companies owned by Bilzerian, which is obviously a misuse of company funds. The most ridiculous part of the spending done by Ignite has nothing to do with parties or luxurious boats and cars. Oh no, the most ridiculous thing that the company spent money on was Bilzerian's salary. Bilzerian basically gets paid to throw parties, drink, vape, and hang out with models all day. Unfortunately for him, this behavior will likely turn Ignite into another failed startup. Don't worry, Dan Bilzerian will be completely fine even if Ignite goes under. He has millions of dollars tied up in trust funds left for him by his father, Paul Bilzerian. And much like his father, Bilzerian will likely end up in prison for his corrupt ways. Did you know this about Dan Bilzerian? If you didn't and you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. We would really appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next one.